Whatever the reason, it's a serious issue. Bangladesh is the 8th most populous country in the world. It is a growing economic power, not to mention a potential player in the Indo-Pacific. You don't want to antagonize Dhaka. It's also a challenge for New Delhi. India has great ties with Biden and Sheikh Hasina. We saw that unique relationship during the G20 summit in New Delhi. Biden and Hasina briefly spoke to each other. They also took the selfie. Clearly all is not well. We don't know how the standoff will play out or what role India could play. But we will say this. The US needs to get clarity on two things. First, the ground reality in Bangladesh, which includes the true nature of their opposition parties. And second, the long-term strategy. It's not the first time that Washington has tried to target a budding democracy in South Asia. They did that with India too. Look how that turned out.
The only casualties on the US SDF side was a single wounded SDF soldier.
Now let's turn our attention to North Korea. The hermit nation is retreating further into its shell. Reports say Pyongyang is preparing to close about a dozen embassies worldwide. The list includes their missions in Spain, Hong Kong, and several African countries. Here is what this means. Nearly a quarter of Pyongyang's missions will be shut down globally. They have formed relations with 159 countries and diplomatic missions in 53 of them. Closing a dozen embassies is an unprecedented move among North Korea's biggest foreign policy shake-ups in decades.
Right now, there's no way.
So what's behind this move? Is it a sign of financial distress in the country? What kind of diplomatic implications will it have? Our next report
would. There's simply no way the vast country of
North Korea is one of the world's most reclusive nations, so friends don't come by easily.
Hold on, let's break this answer down.
But in the past, it actively reached out to the world, especially to countries in Africa. North Korea's first president, Kim Il-sung, was an anti-imperialist. He trained and funded revolutionaries and guerrilla fighters in far-off lands. He cultivated allies in countries like Angola and Uganda. Since the 1970s, they've had friendly ties with North Korea. And like with all good friends, there has been a give and take, from military cooperation and sales of weaponry to statue building projects. But this week, something unexpected happened. North Korea shut its embassies in both Uganda and Angola. On Monday, North Korean ambassadors paid farewell to leaders from both the countries. It was quite the shocker, but reports say this is only the beginning. Pyongyang is preparing to close a significant number of embassies the world over, about a dozen of them. The list includes those in Spain, Hong Kong, and several other African nations. North Korea has formal relations with 159 countries, but only 53 diplomatic missions overseas. Among them is their mission in India. Yes, North Korea has an embassy in New Delhi. It's not clear if this is on the closure list, and India too has a mission in Pyongyang. Now with the impending closure of 12 embassies, about a quarter of all North Korean missions globally would be shut down. This is one of Pyongyang's biggest foreign policy shake-ups in decades. How is the world reacting to it? China had a neutral reaction to the closure of the embassies in Hong Kong.
Each country has the right to decide on the establishment or abolishment of its consular offices abroad in accordance with its actual situation and needs. China expects North Korea's decision to close its consulate general in Hong Kong.
Meanwhile, South Korea is looking at the bigger picture. It says this is a sign of North Korea's weakening economy and how it's struggling to make money overseas due to international sanctions. Since 2006, the UN Security Council has sanctioned North Korea about a dozen times for developing nuclear weapons and testing missiles. Countries like the US have also imposed unique sanctions. The idea is to put pressure on North Korea to denuclearize, and in the process, they're hurting its economy. Last year, North Korea's economy shrank for a third consecutive year. There's not enough food for its people, and now it's likely that Pyongyang is unable to sustain even basic levels of diplomatic relations with its few friends. So, financial distress may be dictating its policy decisions. But one thing is for sure, This plan will hurt the Hermit Kingdom's diplomatic engagement, be it in terms of humanitarian work and the ability to generate revenue, or even its standing on the world stage in terms of optics. Only time will tell if this self-imposed isolation will push Pyongyang further into its shell, or if this is a slow and steady maneuver to win a long race.
Isolated bunkers in Siberia, far from the active front lines. On August 2nd, 2022,
now let's tell you about what's happening in the UK. A lawyer, a physician, and an investment banker have come together to decide the future of artificial intelligence. That sounds like the beginning of a bad joke. We're not so far off. Because that may just be the world's first AI safety summit to become. It began today. Political and business leaders are gathering. This includes the characters that I mentioned. The lawyer is US Vice President Kamala Harris. The physician is EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, and the investment banker is, of course, the Prime Minister. They will be joined by other luminaries. Facebook and Elon Musk and ChatGPT creator Sam Altman. They're meeting at a place called Bletchley Park.
No doubt Putin took that
about an hour from London.
But US military and
the place has historic significance. During the Second World War, British codebreakers worked
governments. Many of them
for the birthplace of the computer.
In countries like Iran,
it's highly symbolic for the world's first AI safety summit to be held here.
The US prefers to let
Is there more to the summit than symbolism? They brought together the who's who of AI and politicians from across the world.
Bij PostNL. Om alle uw andere vragen over PostNL te beantwoorden, ga ik kosten bezorgen met Rina. Ja, dus en ik bezoek Martijn en Dido. Die mag alles vertellen over werken met AI.
AI gebruiken wij in het hele bedrijf.
Terroristen van de routes.
To use AI to spread fear and destruction on an even greater scale. Criminals to exploit AI for cyber attacks, disinformation, fraud, or even child sexual abuse. And in the most unlikely but extreme case, there is even the risk that humanity could lose control of AI completely, through the kind of AI sometimes referred to as superintelligence.
The industrial complex do the talking.
In summary, this is what Rishi Sunak wants, a statement on the risks posed by AI. He wants a global panel to publish a report, and he doesn't want to regulate the AI sector. And this last part is the most crucial. Which begs the question, what will this forum achieve? You see, AI is the future. It has been growing by leaps and bounds, especially since last year when ChatGPT entered the market. It reached 100 million users just 2 months after launch. Now other players have flooded the market. Overall, about 1 in 8 Americans have used some form of AI. In Britain, that number is 1 in 4. The world over, these numbers are rising. We're adopting artificial intelligence without addressing its risks. It is leading to misinformation and disinformation. It is also threatening jobs. These are things already affecting us, and they need to be addressed. But Sunak says this forum is not the place for all of that. He wants governments to address these problems on their own. So what will they do? Focus on the big picture, what they call frontier AI. This is from the UK government's introduction to the summit. It has thrown this term about 15 times in the introduction. Frontier AI. What does it mean? They say it's general purpose AI which can potentially cause great harm. Meaning AI that can perform a wide variety of tasks, that can also be misused. That's what the summit will focus on. What happens if AI is misused by your enemy? What happens if humans lose control of it? All Hollywood-grade existential threats.
Right now, we don't have a shared understanding of the risks that we face. And without that, we can't hope to work together to actually address them. That's why we'll push hard to agree the first ever international statement about the nature of these risks. So next week I will propose that we establish a truly global expert panel nominated by the countries and organisations attending to publish a State of AI Science report. Right now, the only people testing the safety of AI are the very organisations developing it. Even they don't always fully understand what the models will become capable of. The UK's answer is not to rush to regulate.
Here are 2 of the most powerful countries in the world.
Humanity losing control to superintelligence intelligence sounds more exciting than your mundane job losses and fake ones. And that's the biggest criticism against this summit. It focuses on hypothetical threats than real immediate ones. Some experts say the agenda is too broad. In an open letter to Rishi Sunak, they called the summit, quoting, a closed-door event, overly focused on speculation.
$1 trillion in 2022.
And then there's the politics.
The United States,
the UK has said it's
the largest
inappropriate for China to attend some of the
of about $25.46 trillion in 2022. Okay, so the US has got China whipped when it comes to land area size and economic success. But what about military power? Well, here's where it gets scary. China aims to position itself as a significant global military power and has set its sights on achieving.
For our last story tonight, let's go back 66 million
now,
years.
China's Air Force ranks second globally,
it
just
was
behind
one
the United
fine
States,
spring day.
which
Dinosaurs were doing their own thing when an asteroid slammed into
the
the
United
sea.
States operates approximately 10,000 more air platforms
But it
compared to
set
China.
off a global
In terms
shock.
of total aircraft
There
strength,
were
China
earthquakes,
is listed as
mega
having
tsunamis. The earth went
3,260
dark and
aircraft in
cold for a
service,
few
while the
years,
United
and
States boasts an
75%
impressive
of the
fleet of
species on earth were wiped off,
13,233 aircraft.
including dinosaurs,
This
who were
substantial
driven to
difference
extinction.
emphasizes the United
Scientists
States'
have known this for
superior air
years,
power and
but they
its
did not
larger
know exactly
operational
what
aircraft
about
count.
this
But
scenario
what about
killed the
sea
dinosaurs.
power? One of the markers
Now
of a
new studies
superpower
out
is
and
the
it claims
ability to
a
project
stealthy
maritime
murder.
power over long distances.
Dust.
States which have been able to
Scientists
do
say
so
it
have
was
enormous
dust.
influence in regional
2,000
affairs
billion
and can
tons of
exert
it
huge leverage
that
over their
slowly
less
killed
capable
the dinosaurs.
rivals. It is therefore not surprising that as China's wealth has grown, it has invested heavily in its ambitions to create a blue water navy that it hopes will one day challenge the US Navy for supremacy,
which could
at
make
least in
anyone
the
a
waters
target for
of
some
its
old school
immediate
bullying.
neighborhood. But how
But
close is
about
China to that
66
goal?
million years ago,
What is the state of
these were the
US-China
cool
strategic
guys.
competition at sea?
The leaders
and how
on a
is the United
battlefield,
States
the
planning to
scary
maintain its lead on the world's
On one
waterways?
spring morning,
What
they woke up
technologies
being
and
on top
weapons
of the
is the
food
US
chain.
Navy developing to adapt to
But
the
by
growing
night,
power
they were
of
facing
China's
a world
People's
plunged into
Liberation Army
chaos.
Navy, PLAN.
All thanks
You
to
may
an
have heard
asteroid
reports
that
China
slammed
now
into
has
the
the world's
sea
largest navy.
on what's today
There are
known as the Yucatan
355
Peninsula.
ships in its fleet as of December
It was the
30th,
largest asteroid to
2021.
hit the Earth in
Chinese
over
brass
half
is
a
keen
billion
to
years.
expand that number. It plans to increase its fleet size
It had
to
the same force
420
of over a
ships by
billion nuclear
2025
bombs
and
put together.
460 ships
So
by
obviously
2030.
its impact
These
was
figures do not
massive.
cover the additional
It's
85
called
patrol
the
combatant
Chicxulub
ships and
impact.
other small ships capable of
It set
bearing
off catastrophic
anti-ship cruise
earthquakes and
missiles.
tsunami's,
China's countless fishing
and
boats have
gradually
also
wiped off
acted as a de facto
75% of
maritime
species,
militia,
including
harassing
the
vessels from other
dinosaurs.
countries in international waters.
This makes for an
China's
interesting
navy
story
has the
and a
numbers, but
fascinating
here's the
study.
bad news.
But
It is
what
increasing in
exactly
the
about
quality
this
of the ships
incident
as
killed the
well.
dinosaurs?
China was seen putting its
Especially
new
if they
naval
didn't
muscle to
die
use
all
in the
at
summer of
once.
2022.
This question
Following a
has
visit
kept
by then House
scientists going
Speaker
for
Nancy
decades.
Pelosi to
They
Taiwan.
spitballed all
For several
kinds of
days after
ideas,
Pelosi
like
left,
wildfires,
Chinese ships
volcanic
and aircraft
eruptions, and
demonstrated
even
their
sulfur.
military potential in the
But
waters
now
of
they
Taiwan.
may have an
This show
answer
of
that will
force would have
explain it
been
all.
inconceivable
Here's a clue.
25 years earlier.
Do you know
in
the
the
one
third
thing
Taiwan
that
Strait
clean
crisis
freaks have
of
in common with
1995 to
dinosaurs?
96. At
They
the time,
both hate
when Taiwan
dust.
was set to hold
Why
its
is that
first
true for
direct
dinosaurs?
presidential
Because
election
in the
and
end,
became a
it was
fully
dust
fledged
that drove
democracy,
the
the
dinosaurs to
mainland
extinction.
launched several missiles
It was not
across
the
the Taiwan
asteroid,
Strait,
but
prompting
dust,
the United
a
States to
silent killer
send
on
two
stealth
carrier
mode
battle
that
groups to
killed
the
them.
area. China had no
At least
choice but to
according to
back
a new
down in
study.
the face of such pressure.
It
But
was
the
published
Chinese
by
leadership
researchers in
never
Belgium.
forgot the incident.
They ran
To them,
multiple
they recalled
simulations
the
of
century
ancient
of
climate and
humiliation,
effects of
a
the
time
deadly
in the
growth
19th and
asteroid.
early 20th
And
centuries
here's what they
when China
found.
repeatedly found itself
When the asteroid hit the planet, it kicked off
Chinese
about
leadership
200
considers
billion
Taiwan
tons
a
of dust.
province.
This
Continued
kept
American
swirling
and
around in the
allied military
atmosphere for
support
years.
the island remained
Scientists
for the
claim
first
it was
time.
there for over a
After the
decade.
crisis, China
You see,
resolved
dust
never
has
let
the
such a
capacity to
scenario
block
happen
out the
again
sun.
and took steps to increase
So for
its naval
years,
power.
a dark
This was
global
a
winter
deviation
took
from the
over.
norm.
The lack
Only a
of
few
sunlight
brief
shut down
exceptions. China has
photosynthesis.
never
Even
historically been a
plants
sea
stopped
power.
making
It has
food.
traditionally
This
focused
went
its
on for at
military
least 4
resources
years,
on
so
maintaining a large
vegetation
army
failed,
capable of
and this
defending
had
its vast
devastating
land
effects on
borders. Up
animals,
until
many
recently,
of
this
whom
was the
starved to
objective of the
death.
Chinese brass. However,
So
with
according to
China's
a new
continued
study,
problems
the
with
dust may
Taiwan
have
and its
triggered a war
containment
of
within the
attrition
natural
among
barrier of the
dinosaurs,
first iron
eventually
chain, a string
leading
of
to their
islands off
end.
China's waters,
But the
which stretch
scientists
from
aren't
Japan to
leaving other
Indonesia.
conjectures
The
in the
Chinese
dust.
leadership
They say
decided
that
that
more
only by
research
becoming a
needs to be
sea
done on the
power
topic.
would China take its rightful
It could
place
be a
as a true
combination
global
of dust
superpower.
with previously
With its
noted
growing
factors
economic
like the abundance of sulfur or soot. Even so, for now, this study makes an important, albeit ironic, point: that it was dust that caused dinosaurs to bite the
especially
dust.
since it joined the World Trade Organization in
And now it's time for
2001.
Vantage Shot's
China
images
finally
that
had the
tell the
chance to
story.
make a play
In
for
Prague,
naval
the
prominence.
Czech president
Included in
knocked off a
China's new
soldier's
naval
hat
assets
by
are
accidentally
3
hitting him
aircraft
with a
carriers.
flagpole.
China's naval
In
brass
Mexico,
plans to
citizens
increase their
decorate
number
graves
and bring
and
its
prepare
carrier force
altars
up
to
to
commemorate
5
the
by
Day of the Dead.
2030, with more to
And
come after
model
that. The
Heidi
PLAN
Klum
also aims to
arrived at
increase
her
its
annual
submarine
Halloween
force by
party
building
dressed
10
as a
ballistic missile
peacock.
submarines
Finally, we're
by the
taking you
same
back in
year.
history on this
While
day in
China's naval
1993. The
capability has come
European
a
Union
long
was
way from the
established.
Third Taiwan Crisis,
It was created
its apparent
after
strength is not all it
the
seems.
Maastricht
China may
Treaty
have
came
more
into
vessels in
force.
its fleet than
Currently,
any
the
other
European
country,
Union
but
consists
that
of
is because most of the
27
ships
member
are still
states.
small.
Leaving you on that
Aside from the
thanks for
number of
watching.
ships, one way to measure a state's naval power is through the combined tonnage of its fleets. Tonnage is the measurement of a ship's weight. The PLAN's total combined tonnage as of 2020 is between 1.8 and 2 million tons. The US Navy, though, stands at 4.6 million tons. The reason why tonnage matters is because small, low-quality vessels do comparatively little in actual naval confrontation. The United States could build many more smaller boats if it wanted to, but instead focuses on sturdier vessels with advanced offensive and defensive weaponry and robust transit options for Marines to stage amphibious assaults. While many American policymakers have called for the United States to build more ships and restore the Navy to Cold War level fleet sizes, no one in Washington is calling for an imitation of China's fleet composition. Small patrol boats and other irregular craft do the US Navy no good in its global mission to maintain secure and free navigation of the world's oceans. China has closed the tonnage gap since the time of the Third Taiwan Strait crisis, when the United States had a total tonnage lead of over 4 million, but it still lags significantly behind. China's Navy has other problems. Two of its much-publicized aircraft carriers are older models that use a STOVAR, short takeoff but arrested recovery system to launch its planes. China's third aircraft carrier, the Fujian, uses a more modern catapult system comparable to those used by the US Navy's carriers, which allows it to launch its onboard planes faster. The Fujian is therefore a significant step in China's technological capability. However, how would China be able to launch its planes without pilots to fly them? China has a serious shortage of trained naval aviators, and the Fujian and its successors will add to the stress, both in the number of pilots needed in carriers with demand and in teaching them how to use the multiple system. Overall, the PLAN is about decades behind the US Navy's institutional knowledge and experience. Case in point, it lacks the hardware made specifically for training carrier pilots. The current aircraft of choice is the JL-9G, a single-engine twin-seat plane that is incapable of simulating emergency landings on a carrier's flight deck because it is too light and slow. So far, the PLAN's attempts to create an adequate training aircraft have fallen short of satisfactory. Establishing programs for cadet naval aviators has also proven difficult for the PLAN. This lack of institutional knowledge and experience makes sense, given China's history and its only recent move towards sea power. Unfortunately for the Chinese leadership, institutional knowledge doesn't come as easily as new ships do. China might have made progress at a rapid pace, but in a confrontation between carrier groups as they currently stand, the United States would still have an overwhelming advantage, for a few reasons. First, the United States has many more advanced 4th generation and 5th generation fighters to call upon. America's arsenal includes not only carrier-based planes, but land-based F-22s that would fly from Japan to lend a hand in a real battle. China's most advanced fighter, on the other hand, the J-20, cannot be launched from a carrier, and it's unclear if it can rival America's F-22 and F-35 in air-to-air combat. Meanwhile, upgraded Tomahawk cruise missiles and submarines would also pose significant threats to the burgeoning